Hello guys, welcome to another VOD review. Today we're going to be looking over the Zenyatta's gameplay. Our friend Celestial sent in a code through a Reddit post I made, and we're going to be going over their gameplay. So in their post, they sort of talk about having a 50 to 60% win rate for most of the season, but even despite that, they're still having trouble climbing, and they're not really sure how to got a silver, and they've received multiple VOD reviews and everything, and they've been trying to apply what they've been told, but it's not really working out. So we're gonna see what's going on here and see if I can help a little bit. First things first, you guys didn't see it, but he was the AFK in spawn, which is why he's here at 2 seconds. On Zenyatta, you need to be very, very proactive with your positioning. So if I were you, I'm gonna stand here. The spot is relatively safe. You have the option of backing off here. You also have the option of walking up and being aggressive here. You can also play with your team, right? So Cassidy's very good at peeling and everything. So if you wanted, you can also position here with your teammates and kind of like stack on top of them. You have multiple options, but regardless, you should be on the high ground. This Ilaria also should be on the high ground. I'm here, but we'll see. Let's see what you do.
Attackers incoming. Defend objective A.
You should be rushing high ground right now. This is catastrophic. Okay, I'm being a little bit dramatic. So, well, you should be on the high ground. For this specific instance, since your whole entire team decided that they want to play on the low ground, this actually isn't so terrible. They also have a Sombra, so playing near your Ilaria and Cassidy is really important, which you are doing right here. So this is good. So you know they have Sombra now, so you need to be aware of that at all times. So you threw your healing orb on Cassidy. That's good. So, what is happening here? Okay, that was a lot. Okay, let me. Just for context, I did not look at this game prior, so this is like my first reactions to everything. On like my first video, so I'm just gonna go back a few seconds, and this is why playing on high ground is important. I think so here we go. So you so Sombra tries to dive you, peel her off, and the Junker Queen is on the point. So both of your tanks are kind of going at each other's backlines right now. So here you want to keep your distance. Junker Queen will one-shot you if you get closer, so keeping your distance is important. She pulls you in. And there's not much that you can really do about that because you're Zen, like you're slow, right? Like you're very vulnerable to that kind of thing, which is why playing on high ground here is so important, because it puts like a barrier between you and the queen, right? Like you can use this cover here. It's way easier. Take a Zen as like a sniper, right? Like, you want to be far away, at all times, but you also want to be aware of the Sombra, right? So, there's like a bit of an exception to the rule where being around your teammates, and having a plan for the Sombra, because Sombra will dive you at some point, so you have to be ready. So if you're playing, back here, you're completely isolated, and you're not very likely to win a 1v1 against Sombra, right? So you have to be ready for that, be ready to jump down or get healed, or, something along those lines. So here you should die. I have no clue how you live, to be honest. This queen should one-shot you here, but you live somehow. That pylon is putting in work. But she should die. Discord her. Yep. So this works out surprisingly well. Let's see what happens next. So we're poking, getting some extra ult charge, which is good. So this is all fine. You want to make sure we're throwing Discord? Yep. So I think there you could have been more proactive. Just look at this again. So you Discord Venture, which is really good. So Venture immediately dies. And here, you want to look to put your Discord on this Ramatra as like soon as you possibly can. The second you get your Discord on him, just leave it on him. That will ruin Ramatra. And Ramatra sort of just gets the opportunity to just like melt your Reinhardt down. Because, yeah, you guys don't have much healing. So he kind of just gets burned down. I want to just look one more time to make sure that you are discording Ramatra as soon as you possibly can. So Discord Venture, very good. Discord should be on Ramatra. So you're holding this angle, which is a very weird one. You want to be playing with your tank. You're kind of cut off from your teammates. Like you're not really able to see them. You can see your DPS here, but like the fight is happening here, right? Like you can't see these guys. So this is like right here is like where your attention should be. And well, Ramatra puts up his barrier, but you should have been able to Discord him before this barrier goes up. So this is a big missed opportunity, which kind of leads into your Reinhardt dying. And the way Zenyatta supports his team isn't through pure healing, it's by dealing damage. And by putting pressure on Ramatra earlier and forcing him to back off, you're indirectly protecting your team. Because if he's half HP, he can't walk up and bully your Reinhardt like this. So you could have prevented that 100%. Additionally, back to the high ground thing, if you're up here, you can see everything. Down here, you're kind of playing with this bus and you kind of have to like switch in between and it's like kind of difficult, but up here, it doesn't matter. You see all of it, right? It's super easy. Even with the Ramatra shield right here, your Discord goes right over that, right? Like you can see him, I'm pretty sure. Even if you can't, the second his barrier goes down, just Discord him. So you're missing out on huge opportunities to deal damage and like protect your team through that damage. Oddly enough, since I would expect the enemy team to push here, and you guys lose the point, but he kind of pushes super slowly. They're killing Sombra. Yep, this is fine. Yeah, this ult. I'm fine with this ult. That was, yeah, I like that. Okay, this is fine. Now we go high ground. So in between these fights, you gotta make sure that you're going, you're going high ground here. It's so weird to me that no one is walking high ground. Your tank does, which is good. So I have Bastion now. You want to Bastion and Ramatra, or your two #1 Discord priorities here? So leaving it on Bastion is good, but leaving it on Ramatra is also really good. Yep, nice. Yep, just deal as much damage as you can. So here, you made a big positioning mistake. The issue with what you did, right, is that Zenyatta's a character that wants to be far. He's a medium to far range character. The reason why you don't want to get close in situations like this is because you're way more vulnerable to things like Ramattra ult. So your team's actually doing really well here. So, Sombra dies, you can stay exactly where you are. In fact, if you wanted, you can actually back up and sit here and do the exact same thing you're doing from where you are now. But the only, in the difference is that this is just safer. You're far away, so they have to commit way more resources to actually get to you. And, if you get poked out or whatever, which I don't think you really can, but, you can just go here, you can play around this corner as well. You, play around cover, right? You're in the middle of nowhere. And then you're getting closer to them as well. You're just holding forward into their team. Which isn't great. So you lose half your HP, back off a little bit, but then you're still, playing super close. And you're, kind of, inching closer as well. It's not great. So you end up dying here. I think your team would end up losing that anyways, but you still have to be careful because any little positioning mistake or anything like that can really change the tide of the game. So the enemy team takes the point here. I'll just skip forward a little bit.
Failure is acceptable. Giving up is not.
Objective lost.
Tink dies is unfortunate. Not much you can do about that there. Right here, you just want to get your ult as fast as you can. You just want to get your ult ASAP. Do you want to help your crew here? Yep. Nice job. What is that Creel? I mean, it worked. So, okay. Very, very, very. Oh my god. So your positioning here is I actually fully agree with. This is fine. It's not the greatest angle. But where the payload is right now is just a little bit difficult. But from this angle, you can still see them a little bit, and you're safe. And then on Zen, there's not really much that you can do here. You don't have any mobility to help you, so you kind of sticking back there is this is fine for the most part, I think. I also liked how you went in here briefly to help you out your team when you could. This is fine. Now, when you're on Zen, what you need to be doing is tracking what ults you want to use your Transcendence for. And so you need to kind of preemptively plan that in your head. So if I'm you in this situation, right, I'm thinking I can maybe save my ult for the Lari and Ramattra. Those are the two ults that I think are the most counterable with by trans. And the reason why I don't say Sojo or Bastion here is because they're both very it's a lot of burst damage, and Bastion ult's pretty avoidable 90% of the time, and Soldrin can potentially one-shot you through trans if she hits 2 back-to-back headshots or something. So, but with Alari and Ramattra, those ults, well, Alari's ult does burst damage. It's not enough burst damage, and Ramattra this is damage over time, so you completely negate his ult for the most part. So with the Solari ulting, you have to make a decision of, do I think my team needs this? Um, and from this position, I would actually say, I think you can make an argument for either way. I wouldn't immediately pop trans. I would wait to see if your Reinhardt is able to block it with his shield. But you'd be surprised. The hitbox on Alari's ult is massive. So I would wait to see if he blocks it or not. If he can't, I wouldn't blame you for popping trans. So you immediately pop it the second it hits, which is fine. I think waiting an extra few seconds is better, but I don't blame you for what you did. So you completely undo Alari's ult, which is good. You can throw a Discord on Bastion, very good. So here, you got to be careful with your positioning, right? Like you know, like I'm sure you're watching this and you feel yourself like kind of like being lost here. Like you kind of got stuck for a second. So this is good. This is good. And then you notice here. You notice that the enemy team is starting to push. You recognize this, right? And you know that sitting here will lead to your death in like a few seconds, right? So then you try to back up, and then he kind of gets stuck on this sign. And I think this comes down to like map awareness, where you have to have a plan B ready to go already in your mind. When you take a position, you have to have that in the back of your head already, like before the team fight even starts. That's what you have to do between team fights is, okay, where am I gonna, like, where's the enemy coming from, where am I gonna position, like where's my escape route. And so here your escape route wasn't super clear. Luckily the enemy team kind of not great, so they don't kill you, but you should die there. I feel like that's the main point of discussion here in this VOD review, is just about positioning. I want to go over the 4 main like fundamentals of positioning. I think that's valuable to go over here. I think the fundamentals of positioning comes down to 4 questions that you can ask yourself. And when you ask yourself these questions, the answers will tell you if you're currently in a good position or not. So the first question that I want you guys to like remember, write down, whatever, is, do I have line of sight of my allies? The second one is, do you have line of sight of enemies? Are you far away from flank routes? And what are your attack and escape routes? And just to break those down a little bit, I feel like the line of sight of enemies and allies is like pretty self-explanatory. It's important that you're able to interact with the enemy team and your own team at any given point. And if you don't have line of sight of them, you can't really do that. Now, when it comes to the question of, are you far away from flank routes? Specifically on Zen, it's about knowing where the enemies will come from. So when you're in a position like this, right, it's like, where will the enemy come to get you? If they have mobility, they can't just jump up on the high ground. So like, you can consider that a flank route. The others are here. So an enemy can, come through here, up the stairs, through here, and get to you. They can also go under, where they can kind of take a path like this to get you. And so it's about knowing where the enemy is going to come from, and you have to preemptively plan for that. So when I'm taking a position like this, I'm poking. From here, you can see all of the point, um, and like you can see everything, right? And so if they if they come to flank you, you have the option of backing up here, and this is leads into the next like question, which is like, what are your attack and escape routes? So from this position, what an attack route would look like is like, let's say your team is pushing up, you want to be able to push up with them and help with their aggression, so you can easily walk up here and be able to attack them. Or if you need to back up, so let's say we're in the same spot and your team's being pushed and you're about to lose the team fight, you have the option of jumping back and taking cover. And so just constantly, like, if you're wondering if your current position is good or not, just think of like the 4 questions of like, do I have an attack and escape route? And like, where are the flank routes? Like, and how far away are you from them? Do you have line of sight of the enemies? And do you have line of sight of your allies? So just think about those. Like, let's like try to keep that in mind, like moving forward through the rest of this VOD review. And so in this spot, you have line of sight of the enemies and your allies, which is really good, which is why you're able to put pressure on this Ramattra right here. But when we're thinking about attack and escape routes, you have a pretty clear attack route, right? You don't, on Zenyatta, your range is infinite. You don't have any fall off or anything. So all of this is like you don't have to worry about pushing up or anything. The issue is that you don't have a proper escape route. You're kind of just in the middle of here, and the only thing that you can do is just back up. But ideally, you know, Ramattra usually moves faster than Zenyatta, in his like nemesis form, and so he can catch up to you and just punch you, and there's nothing that you can really do about it. But from here, you can poke, and you're able to back up and take positions like this, or back here, and rotate a little bit easier to keep yourself safer, while still being able to put the same offensive pressure as you are right now. Luckily, your Alari's here to heal you, so it's not a super big deal right now. But you see how, like, and you end up taking this position, which is good, but you see how you almost die, like, stepping back. And you're just taking so much damage. And, like a better player would just straight up kill you. They would punish you for this. Luckily, you're somewhere in between silver and gold, so it's not, so, like, you're able to get away with it. But you have to keep in mind that you can do what you're doing right now, just with way less risk. So your Reinhardt ults. I think this round's basically a wrap, right? Like, you have your Transcendence, they can't really do anything here. Speed this a little bit. Yeah. One little small thing I want to mention is that I'm noticing you're using right click a lot. The issue with right click is that you want to use it before fights. So right now you're kind of, this is transitioning into a fight. But one, you want to always like fully charge it if you can. Sometimes there's these situations where you're able to charge it and get like 2 shots off with it, which can help. I do that sometimes, but in terms of the amount of DPS, usually just holding left click. Actually, not usually. It's 99% of the time just holding left click will do more damage over time compared to charging and doing like the volley of orbs. So you're missing out on a lot of damage just by right clicking randomly. I think you're also reloading more than you need to be. But those are little small nitpicks. team seems to be in a bit of trouble here. You just want to get out if you can. No, that's very no. That positioning was not great by any means. Here, you just want to like sit here. This car will basically cover all your needs for the most part, and if you need to back up, you can kind of walk back here, which it's not like super safe, but it's significantly safer than what you're doing, which is playing in this room, which is basically enemy territory. Like if I was, this is like a position I would take if I was playing Tracer, and like I want to flank. So you live pretty long here, surprisingly, but yeah, this is not great. In this position, you just want to get the hell out. Like I would be holding S, like I just want to get out, and doing that would actually, Ramatra's here, so you'd probably die, but your chances of surviving is like way higher if you just like hold S. But you die, your team's down to support. Moria hits a huge ult, your team's fucked. So you guys have to give point here. Oh no. So back to the positioning thing, right? You were out in the middle of the open. And if you, and actually, I don't disagree with you wanting to poke here, right? Like, I think wanting to poke is fine, but why not do it from like this position where, well, one, you could see more, and two, you could just back up, right? And then they can't reach you at all. You have to give yourself more defensive options. So this is all fine. Macho dies because Discord Orb is a balanced ability. I think you guys just like defend this. I don't think there's much the enemy team can do here. Maybe I'm wrong. Nice pick. Beautiful. Yep. Super clean. Super clean. Yeah, but that's this round over. We're gonna zoom to the next round.
Initiating.
Let's see.
Ready for battle.
Oops. Let me back that up a little bit. Alright, so same team compass before for the most part. But let's see where you walk. So you try to go for a burst shot there? That's fine. I actually really like that. That'll catch them off guard. Although they know that you're gonna do that now, so you have to change up your strategy. So your team seems to be just pushing down main. Ideally your team would come up here and take the high ground, but apparently this lobby doesn't believe in high ground. So if your team's gonna push down mid, this position where you are with Bastion's fine. You can just sit here. You don't need to push up any further. One thing that you want to keep in mind is that Zenyatta's healing is really bad. And so it becomes even worse when you're constantly like switching it between like low HP targets. Just throw it on the Zarya or Bastion. It doesn't matter which one, and just leave it on them. Just let the orb cook. You don't want to concern yourself too much with constantly switching it, because the orb is honestly there just to give you like ult charge, right? Like the healing really is not worth much. you want to focus on dealing damage. Your damage is how you protect your team. Something I'm noticing here is that we're not discording people. Sigma should have been discorded like years ago. And notice with the positioning, right? You did not need to push up where you are. You still could have been just standing here spamming, but you pushed up and now you're getting antied, and because this spot is way more risky, and so you guys die. You also got to discord that Sigma way earlier.
A temporary setback.
Oh, you swapped to Moira. Okay. So here, if you're going to play closer range and you want to push in, I'd rather you play Moira than Zen. So this, I feel like the swap is okay. Zen, Zen actually works super well here, but so you get a pick and then immediately fade in. This was probably the biggest end of the game. This was very bad. So the issue with what you did, right, is, just to go back, your team gets a pick, right, on Ana. So your team is pushing. This is all fine and good, And Ana dies to your DPS, right, even though you get the final blow. And just for reference, right, you're standing here, like, this is where your fade starts. You're way ahead of your tank, and you're not even in line of support of your, like, in line of sight of your support, really. So this is already, like, a pretty risky spot, but then you fade in. Oddly enough, I actually don't mind this fade. But the issue is where you land, which is in the middle of the point. And now, you have no cooldowns, which you guys can see it in the bottom right. You have no cooldowns. And you're just out in the middle of nowhere. So you just die. And that's it. To make this play work, if you want to go in and play aggressive, you have to fade in here with your teammates. If you fade here, like if your fade would have landed here, now you can see the enemy, you can see your allies, you have an escape route, and you have an attack route, right? You fulfill all four, like, questions or, like, conditions of, you know, the fundamentals of positioning. So this is a good position here. I highly agree with this. But you faded here, which instantly, like, kind of, like, ruins the play. So the idea was really good. I like the aggression, but you have to be safer with what you're doing, and you have to be mindful of, like, your cooldowns as well. So I'm not sure if your team wins this. No, they don't. I think your team actually wins that team fight if you don't die there, because you guys did get the pick. Yep, nice. I like the cover usage there. So you cannot fade in like that. That was, I mean, we already talked about that, like, briefly, so I won't, like, go over it again, but you can't go in without any cooldowns. And so your team doesn't have you to heal them. So, I mean, maybe they win the team fight. They were able to stall while you came back, so maybe they win. Yeah, I didn't think so. So you have your ult now. I would honestly, if I were you, I would look to flank here with ult. But I'll see what you do. Very, very, very risky fade. Luckily, your Winston came to protect you, but that was really bad. You should actually die here. Instead of fading um, into the wall, you want to fade back so you're in cover. Um, yeah, you could also like if you want to do like a risky like positional play, you can also like fade here. This is probably something I would do. It's like fade into this room. People don't always hear where Moira ends, and you're invisible while you're moving, so people wouldn't expect that. This ult's fine. You're hitting your Winston like a lot of the enemy team, and you know Winston just used rock. Although we know Ana did use sleep dart because she just tried sleeping you. Now, luckily she missed. And you just gotta be aware about like when you're ulting on Moira, you have to ask yourself like, is there any like danger? Like, is there anything that can cancel my ult? And the two things that can cancel your ult right now are sleep dart and rock. And we know Sigma just used rock. There's I was just about to say his ult's not a big deal because we have fade, but you just didn't use it. You just gotta fade there. Cassidy ult isn't like a super big deal for Moira. You just fade out of it.
Chaos returns. Another day, another battlefield.
30 seconds.
I feel like this is like a desperate play on that. Gotta click as much that you can really do here. Oh, that was so unfortunate. So, the biggest takeaways from this VOD review is positioning. What I want you to do is just hyper focus in on your positioning. Don't worry about your aim or hitting shots or anything like that. I don't think that's the issue at all. What you need to be focusing on is making sure your positioning is perfect every game. So the way you can do that is by one, thinking of like the 4 rules. You know, do you have an attack and escape route? How far are you away from the flank routes? Do you have line of sight enemies? Do you have line of sight allies? Constantly ask yourself that. Write it down. Read that to yourself before you go into every match you play. And the second thing you can do to improve your positioning is just be careful of the urge to push forward. You need to be aware of your character's effective range. So if you're playing a character like Moira, you're a lot more it makes a lot more sense to want to push forward because you want to keep them in your range. And you need to be close to your allies to heal them as well. So getting close to them makes a little bit more sense. But if you're on Zenyatta, the only thing you need is line of sight. Like, if you're standing here, you can heal this Cassidy and put out a ton of damage while being safe. Actually, ideally, you would do it from, like, here, right? You can play really far away and still have a ton of impact. You do not need to get close. Now, you can make the argument for Zenyatta that because he's projectile, you want to be closer, so you're able to hit your shots, which is true, and that is the decision making that goes into Zenyatta. You have to constantly decide: do I want to be far away, be less likely to hit my shots, but I'm safer, and kind of commit to like poking this way, or do I want to get closer, be way at a higher risk of dying, but I'm also at a higher chance of hitting my shots? So you have to decide that for each situation. Overwatch is, every match is so different, so there's not one correct solution. But with me being able to see this one situation, I could definitely say that sitting here and poking is the correct play, especially with how your team right here is like resetting. So that's what I want you to work on. Just hyper focus on your positioning. Don't worry about anything else. For like the next 30 games of Overwatch, just hyper focus on your positioning, and you want to make sure it's perfect. And you just want to keep in mind those 4 rules. Watch the urge to push forward when you're attacking the enemy. You want to, And lastly, you want to keep in mind your character's effective range. The only time you want to push forward is to keep them in your effective range. But on Zenyatta, if your effective range is infinite, right, then like you don't need to worry about that. All you need to do is strafe to keep them in your line of sight. So like if you're standing here, right, we can't really see Sojo, but all we need to do is just strafe left a little bit, and then we're in our, she's in our sights again. So even from like this spot, like he could still shoot her, and this is infinitely safer because he could just take cover here. Well, you'd probably have to crouch for this, like take advantage of this little like thing, but hopefully you see my the point I'm trying to make. But I think that wraps up this VOD review. If you guys are interested in having your game VOD reviewed, drop it in the comments. Drop like a replay code, or if you want to do a call together, like over Discord, we can do it like that. I'd be super interested in VOD reviewing more people. But yeah, guys, I hope you learned something from this, and I'll see you guys in the next one.